Imagine being given a bag of gold every morning and throwing half of it into the river before breakfast. Sounds ridiculous, right? Yet that's exactly what most people do every day with their time, and they don't even hear the splash. Long ago, in a dusty village where the sun moved slower and people still argued with goats like they were neighbors, lived an old man named Rahim. No one knew his real age. Some said he was older than the village well. Others believed he was born already tired. What everyone agreed on was this: Rahim wasted nothing. Not food, not words, not time. Across the road from Rahim lived a boy named Niko, young, clever, and dangerously confident. Niko believed time was infinite, like the sky. "I'll do it tomorrow" was his favorite prayer. He prayed it often. Tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. Tomorrow hurt him so much it started ignoring him. Niko spent his mornings sleeping, his afternoons joking with friends, and his evenings planning great things he would definitely start someday. He planned so well that he felt exhausted and deserved rest. Meanwhile, Rahim woke before the sun, not because he was ambitious, but because he said, "Sleep is sweet, but life is shorter." One afternoon, Niko saw Rahim repairing a broken fence with the patience of a cat watching a mouse. Niko laughed and said, "Old man, why work so slowly? You'll never finish before sunset." Rahim smiled. "The sun never rushes, yet it always arrives." Niko didn't understand, but nodded anyway. He was very good at nodding without understanding. In the same village lived a donkey named Balu, famous for two things: his strength and his laziness. When Balu was young, he carried heavy loads without complaint. As he grew older, he learned a dangerous skill: pretending to be tired. Whenever work appeared, Balu limped. Whenever food appeared, Balu ran like a poet chasing inspiration. Rahim often said, "Time and donkeys are similar. Treat them carelessly, and they'll carry you nowhere." One day, the village announced a great market would be held in the city beyond the hills. Anyone who arrived early could sell goods for high prices. Anyone late would return with empty pockets and long excuses. Niko was excited. "This is my chance," he said. "I'll prepare tomorrow." Rahim prepared that evening. The night before the journey, Niko stayed awake telling stories and laughing. "I'll wake up early," he said, moments before sleeping like a rock that had also decided to nap. Morning arrived quietly. It didn't shout. Time never shouts. Rahim was already on the road when Niko woke to the sound of birds gossiping about his future regrets. Panicked, Niko rushed, tripped, forgot things, and finally left with Balu the donkey, who decided this was the perfect day to limp dramatically. By the time Niko reached the market, the best spots were gone. Buyers were tired, and prices had fallen like old promises. Rahim, meanwhile, had sold his goods, shared tea, listened more than he spoke, and was already walking home, humming. That evening, Niko sat outside Rahim's house, defeated. "I had time," he said. "I just didn't use it." Rahim poured him water and said, "Time is like a visitor who comes without knocking. If you don't welcome it, it leaves without saying goodbye." Niko asked, "But how do you never waste it?" Rahim chuckled. "Oh, I waste time sometimes. I just don't waste it on things that waste me." He told Niko an old story, older than dust. A hunter once chased 2 rabbits and caught none. Not because the rabbits were fast, but because the hunter was greedy with his attention. Focus, Rahim said, is respect for time. Days passed. Niko tried to change. He woke earlier. Some days he succeeded. Some days his bed won the argument. But slowly something shifted. He learned that wasting time felt easy, but cost everything later. Using time felt hard, but paid interest.
Even Balu the donkey changed. When treated kindly and worked with routine, he stopped pretending. Rahim smiled and said, "Even laziness retires when discipline shows up daily." Years later, Niko became a respected man. Not the richest, not the loudest, but steady. People noticed that when he promised something, it arrived on time, sometimes early. He often repeated Rahim's words to the young. "You don't find time, you decide what matters." When Rahim passed away, the village gathered. Someone asked Niko what Rahim had taught him. Niko looked at the sky and said that life doesn't end because time runs out. It ends because we keep postponing it. The wind carried those words through the village, past the well, over the hills, and into the ears of anyone willing to listen. Time, as always, kept moving, quiet, patient, unforgiving, and waiting to see who would waste it next.